News pasty across the universe. We're inspecting COVID because those reactions are adverse. Yes, here we are. We're news pasty again. And who's this? Oh, it's Neil Oliver. And what's he doing? He's interviewing the devil himself and Andrew Bridgen, of course. Why wouldn't you? The devil.
Welcome back. Joining us to continue and evolve this conversation is GP David Lloyd from the Ridgeway City. Dr. Lloyd has long spoken up in favour of the COVID injections offered by companies like Pfizer and Moderna. If I can come to you first, Andrew, you all...
May I just say, he says long spoken up about the COVID injections, but when you say long, you mean since they've been invented randomly, quickly, out the back of a van, like, oh, quick, let's get this junk in them and see what it does to them, and then let's see what COVID is.
Also spoke and asked a question in the House of Commons this week. If you could bring us up to date with that.
On Thursday, in Business of the House questions, yes. I've been passed some papers from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem by...
Oh, my God! Is Andrew Bridgen about to tell us that he was passed papers by the Hebrew University that proves that Jesus was our Lord and Saviour? Is this what he's about to tell us?
Two learned doctors who've analysed the test data and reanalysed the Pfizer test data, and what they've uncovered, it shows...
Is the return of Jesus? Is it the return of the Messiah, Andrew? Is that what they've discovered?
Clearly that there were two batches of vaccines produced. So the vaccine that was actually rolled out around the world to billions of doses, including the boosters, it actually wasn't the same vaccine, and it wasn't manufactured in the same process as the vaccine that was tested on 44,000 volunteers and
Oh, I mean, to put the fact that Jesus hasn't come back down to earth aside, yeah, back down to earth. Oh, I'm coming from Venus. He's Andrew Bridgen telling you that you remember when they did those tests on what did you say, 44,000 volunteers on those COVID vaccines? And then they junked you up with stuff that was completely different because they had you. Well, who was involved in it? I tell you, someone here on this seat was involved in it, and it isn't Andrew Bridgen.
Subsequently got approval across the world. This raises huge questions, and clearly that will explain why the harms we've seen, the adverse effects on our yellow card system, is so different from the data shown in the trials by Pfizer, because they're different vaccines produced in different ways.
And
that is a beautiful point, Andrew Bridgen, you want to make. You're saying that they offered us gold, dirty, rotten gold, it turns out, even though you can't have dirty, rotten gold. They offered us gold, and they gave us something completely different. What was it? What do you mean? Lead painted yellow. How dare they? That's the oldest trick in the book.
What response did you get in the Commons when you raised that?
Back off!
Well, I think that the MHRA...
Boo! Andrew Bridgen! They all screamed, Andrew Bridgen, shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! All the people who should be ashamed of themselves scream shame on you. This is Parliament.
About this. If my researchers can dig this out, surely they can. If they didn't inform, the minister, that actually would be a criminal offence, and I pointed that out. And obviously, if the minister was aware that the vaccine that was rolled out... It is
a criminal offence. It's the biggest criminal offence.
Tested on 44,000 people, as was claimed.
It's murder.
It's actually rather worse. But because of all...
It's mass murder. It's mass murder. They put something into you they had not tested and convinced you that they had tested something that they were putting into you when they hadn't. That's mass murder on a scale never before seen. I mean, Dr. Shipman, basically, everybody invoked the spirit of Dr. Shipman, didn't they? Harold! Harold! Harold, please, Harold! Please, Harold, give us the spirit to kill all these people, will you, Harold? We got this junk we tested on them. Now, it didn't go very well, to be honest, but it's still this other stuff we're holding out the back is the stuff we're going to give them. And Harold, it's terrible. It'll kill loads of them, Harold.
What it means is that there could have been no informed consent for the Pfizer vaccine or boosters because people were misled that they were trialled on 44,000 people when they weren't.
No, obviously, Dr. Lloyd, I'm sure you can predict the question I would ask. How do you react to hearing that, which is an evolution on the story that we've been being told over a long period of time.
So, Dr. Lloyd, look at him staring into the dark void, which is his soul. The void of Lloyd is there. You look into it, and what do you see? Do you see the face of God? No, you see the cackling face of Satan himself. There is no return of Jesus here. It's just COVID vaccines. No, David Lloyd, Mr. Lloyd here, is going to tell you that everything's a lie. That all of the evidence is right in front of you. That these facts are all lies. Because that's what David Lloyd does. That's what David Lloyd does. He is of the Ridgeway surgery in Harrow. Has been for a long time. Establishment lovey-dovey, you could say. Hey, you could go back to maybe 2006, I think, to an Evening Standard article where they call him one of the best GPs in the UK. Well, did you test out that COVID vaccine, and did you make sure that due diligence was performed?
Well, it's terribly difficult, isn't it, to react to the latest conspiracy theory against the
Conspiracy
theory. Tried against the facts that we have.
Right, okay, so conspiracy theory. What is conspiracy theory? Well, it is investigative journalism. What he's talking about, conspiracy theory, is investigative journalism. You have a conspiracy, that's more than one person. If you're an investigative journalist, you have to go and you have to investigate multiple people and see what they've done and see if they've conspired with each other. That means you have to theorize a conspiracy. That is a conspiracy theory. It then leads to you finding evidence, and then you put that evidence down and you show it. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. He's showing something which has facts attached to it as conspiracy theory. That's wrong. It's investigative journalism there. It's investigative journalism. Surely you should know that, David. You should know investigative journalism, shouldn't you? You're old enough.
Have about the COVID vaccines, which is that they have saved millions of lives. The latest data is we've saved 14 to 19 million lives worldwide.
These people, this person is literally lying to your face because they're using stats and they're using tables and they're using numbers that they've pulled out of thin air, just like how they invented it, because this is NEWSPASTE, you know. We're looking at the pasty, and this man is the biggest pasty in town right now.
The introduction of the vaccine, and I'm speaking personally here because I have to speak personally.
Because you can't speak with evidence.
A COVID hub looking after patients with COVID, and towards.
Wait a minute. He was running Harrow COVID hub, and he was helping inject this stuff in, and he went along with it all. He followed Richard Sykes's plan, one of the most evil men I've studied in history. And he's run out there. He can't even look in people's eyes. Even when he's talking, he is looking down nearly all of the time and trying not to look up because he has to lie over and over and over again. He knows what he's saying is a lie, and the proof is all out there, and he's just denying the proof.
At the end of the epidemic, when patients used to ring in with COVID and we'd be seeing them, the first question you ask is, were you vaccinated? And the people that died, the people that I sent into the hospital, were the unvaccinated patients.
Were they?
I'll be frank with you.
Anecdotal
I'm honestly amazed
bullshit.
that you're quoting the millions of lives saved rhetoric. From which source? Can I ask you from which source?
It's modelling. It's modelling. It's the
Modelling.
lowest form of scientific research.
The modelling invented here, the modelling used was created by Roy Anderson and Neil Ferguson. Neil Ferguson is Roy Anderson's apprentice. Roy Anderson is a mentor. He's the king of computer modelling. He is one of the most corrupt men I have ever investigated. He was completely responsible for all of the modeling, and the modeling was designed through foot and mouth. The original foot and mouth back in 2001, etc., 2002. In Britain, well, 2002, 2001, around there. Anyway, in 2001, you had foot and mouth outbreak happen. It was hidden at first. Roy Anderson wrote all the models and faked all the models and changed all the models, stuck them into 3 categories, so you could no longer tell what numbers meant what. And they manipulated them in a way and coerced them in a way so they could tell you whatever they bloody well like. And what's happening here? Same thing. They're using modeling, fake modeling, to tell you lies and then telling you that it's the truth and it's fact because it's modeling and you can't work it out. So you can't call it based on fallacy. You can't say it's false because you don't understand how it's made. So if you don't understand how a model is made or how it's designed or what the input is, you don't bother with it because it's then not a model, is it? It's not. It's a pasty.
From what source does it come, a peg upon which to hang so much?
I was quoting from a paper in Nature. I mean, these are some reputable scientific journals.
Nature, the people who published the proximal origins of SARS-CoV-2 paper, which was the cover-up to show that it didn't come from Wuhan. He's quoting the people who are central. Nature magazine is central to the COVID cover-up throughout the world. Central. They played a central role. Nature magazine should be investigated, shut down, taken over, burnt. Burn the books! Burn the books immediately! Where's the books? I don't know. I've only got pasties. Okay, burn the fucking pasties then. I can't handle them. There's too many of them. Some of them got words in them and pages. What about the books, though? Oh, we don't even have books anymore. We just rely on modelling. Oh, modelling. Okay, then that can tell us anything. What does it say? It says everything's a pasty, boss.
With reputable scientists who've done the research. And the data
Nature!
is there. You can't dispute it.
But David, if
You can't dispute it. You can't dispute nature with proximal origin. You can dispute it. No, you can't. They said at the time, no, you can't. Now they're saying, oh, yes, okay, well, it wasn't so, you know. We do know that it wasn't so. We're nature, you know. We know everything. You don't need to worry about us, you know. We know what is up, what is down, what's a bat, what's coronavirus. We know, we can tell you. You don't need to worry about us, no, we're nature. Ha, we know everything. Nature is everything. You are nature, we are nature. So listen to us when we say, it didn't come from Wuhan. Oh, yes, it did. Okay, it did. Oh, but this time we're telling you, oh, the vaccines are health and safety. Oh, no.
These are not the answer to a scientific basis.
If the vaccines are safe and effective,
yes,
they've now been trialled on billions of doses. 6-7 billion doses have gone out.
Yes.
Why do Pfizer, Moderna still need immunity from prosecution? Surely they are safe and effective now.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Are they safe and effective? Why do they need immunity from prosecution? Well, because they sleep in caves upside down and they come towards you. I have got to suck your blood. And you don't want people who suck your blood talking in Parliament.
Are they? And why Pfizer never put a vaccine into India, the potentially biggest market for vaccine and therapeutics in the world, biggest population, because the Indian government will not give them immunity from prosecution.
Because immunity from prosecution is the dumbest thing you could possibly do. So anybody who's pushed immunity from prosecution should be prosecuted for making immunity from prosecution possible in such a dire, horrible state of affairs where so many people have died. The people who put in the immunity to prosecution, the people who voted it in, those guys, yes, you, elected representatives who made the decision and now have to take the responsibility, you should now go to jail. That's what you should do, all of you. All of you. You lied. You knew. You made them immune from prosecution and they've murdered people. That is you. You've made them immune for anybody who's been involved in immunity from prosecution from the biggest murderers in history should be jailed, of course.
You can only counter that by quoting the science and the stuff that we see on the ground about what the vaccine has done to save lives.
Well, you see, there was once a bat in a pangolin. There was once a bat in a pangolin, and a guy called David Lloyd who was a fan. And he went and he had sex with the pangolin. And what did he understand? He understood the vaccines were safe and effective because the pangolin told him so and the bat gave him it in his hole. Okay, I go too far.
I'm an MP. I can't use your research to find these very obscure pieces of information. But the big information, the stuff that's...
I'm sorry I made up lyrics about pangolins and bats as I went along. I shouldn't have done that. I should have written them down and given them proper bear credence
out there that we know that has shown it, shows that the vaccines are not only incredibly safe, that the benefits far outweigh the risks.
Okay, while David Lloyd's lying here, while David Lloyd is sitting on national TV telling lies, while this old man is lying, openly lying on TV, knowingly lying on TV, while he's lying on TV, while David Lloyd here of Ridgeway Surgery is lying, so unable, look at where his eyes are. Why? David Lloyd, right? And I wanted to just apologize again to any pangolins who are out there. Yeah? I've never picked on pangolins. Oh, it's a lie. Okay, I want to apologize for saying I've never picked on a pangolin. Okay, I want to start off there, and then secondly, I want to apologize to pangolins for what I said. I didn't mean to include you into a song about the cover-up of COVID. I'm sorry to all pangolins. Now, can you explain to me why David Lloyd is unable to look in someone's eyes and instead has to look at Andrew Bridgen's penis when he speaks to him? Can anybody explain to me why David Lloyd here is looking at Andrew Bridgen's willy? Why he's looking into his third eye? Why look at this. He's holding his hand. He's like, it's glorious. It's glorious. I didn't expect it to be like that. I know you trained unsuccessfully as a Marine, Andrew, but I can see why you weren't successful, because as a Marine, you need to have very small willies. And you've got an enormous willy. It's beautiful. Please, let me inject it. I want to make copies of it and put it in everyone. I am David Lloyd, Dr. David Lloyd. I am desperate for you, Andrew. I can't look you in the eyes. I can't talk to your face. I'm looking at your crotch. So why can you understand why this guy keeps looking at everybody's crotch? Because he can't look in your eyes. Why can't he look in your eyes? Is it because he's autistic? Do you think he's got something like low function autism, or he's high, and he's unable to look like into your eyes? Is he adverse to it, or is it just he's in the lie? He's in it. Look at him. He's there, holding. He's in his head, in his hand there, in his imagination. He's holding Bridgen's balls, and Bridgen is completely relaxed. He knows what's happening here. He feels the gaze on his willy. He feels it. How can you not feel it? Anyway, get off this subject because it's a bit rude. Let's go on.
Would it concern you if you found out that the Pfizer vaccine and the boosters had not been tested on 44,000 people? That was a different vaccine, and that the vaccine that was rolled out around there was actually cultured in Escherichia coli?
He's still looking down. He's still doing that. He can't look in his eyes. Look, there's no looking in his eyes.
With all the endotoxins involved, that wasn't in the test. That wasn't in the trial.
Of course I would be concerned. And
of course I would be concerned.
Well, if you go back to the original research, the New England Journal of Medicine, which was done by Pfizer, those bits of data there are fundamentally important.
Then why did Pfizer want to hide the data for 75 years?
But did they? I think this is...
Oh, wait a minute. Yes, but did they? Well, no, because they didn't get back. They already had immunity from prosecution, and eventually everybody said, no, that's a bit too far, isn't it? You've already got immunity. Why do you have to hide the data as well? What's going on? Okay, well, we show the data, otherwise we'll get legal challenges. Oh, well, did they hide the data? No, they intended to hide the data. They tried to hide the data. They functionally put it in to hide the data, wrote it into contracts and stuff, and then afterwards what's happened? It's been reversed. So what's happened? Yes, they've hidden the data. They've hidden the data. Did they hide the data? Yes, they tried to hide the data. Did they succeed? No, they didn't. Is it because they're so kind and nice and virtuous that they didn't succeed? No, because if they had succeeded, they would have hidden the data.
The point, did they? You can't just come out and say these things without having the basic facts.
I mean, there are so many items there to unpick. You know, the New England Journal of Medicine, like Lancet, editors of both have all but said in public that those publications, like all medical journals, are compromised by... I mean, they're effectively information laundry services.
This is so true. That's what Nature did. Nature printed the proximal origins of SARS-CoV-2 by people like Edward Holmes, by Jeremy Farrar, by Andrew Rambeau, by Bob Gary, by all of the rest of them who got involved, like Christian Anderson, loads of them. All of them, they were all deeply involved. And then nature, what, you know, you'd say, well, this is pretty serious. You're saying all of this, and there's massive holes to your paper. Even a basic examination of your paper means that there's questions to be asked about how you come up with this and what the data actually says and what the evidence is. And there's not much evidence, and you've actually lied within the paper, and you've made it within 8 days. Now, if Nature was proper, if Nature was still a functioning journal that could actually do a good job, it would have noted all of those points, especially this took 8 days to come up with. Are you joking? That would have been as simple as it. Oh, what? Did you take 8 days to come up with this complicated thing that, you know, then we're going to test drugs on human beings and experiment on them because of partly of these data sets that you put into things like the Nature Journal, Lancet, and what they're talking about here? Is this what... I'm so angry. I'm so angry. I filled up with pasty inside. I got to let all the pasty... I got to let me onion and me meat out, and I got to let it just come out and just live as a nice pastry.
For Big Pharma and the editors of those publications, and there is no peer-reviewed information that's got. Those are paid-for, placed, non-peer-reviewed items that go in. But
hold on. I have to just correct you there. The paper was peer-reviewed by all their peers. New England Journal of Medicine is not paid for by advertisers.
All of the peers. How many peers? All of the peers. I'm sorry, but that paper was studied by all the peers. What, every single one of them? Yes, that's my claim. All the peers. Now give me more Ferrero Rocher in my anus.
For by the subscribers, it is the #1 medical journal in the world.
It takes a huge amount of advertising from Big Pharma.
#1 medical journal because it has so much advertising, it can market all over the place, it spreads itself out, and people automatically order. Oh yeah, we've been told we gotta order this by the bosses upstairs. And the bosses upstairs get told they have to order it by the people who tell them what they have to order. What they have to order is whatever they've been told, and whatever the most popular thing is. And what's the most popular thing? The thing that's advertised, the poster market's about. And what is it? Lies. Nearly everything that's money spent on to market and push out there all over the place is lies. What about universities? What do they get? They automatically get subscriptions to the Lancet, to Nature, to all of these type of things because they're automatically in the cesspit now because they've sunk down to there with everybody else. You know, if you're deciding on who are the experts and all your experts are idiots, this is every generation. I mean, you go back 150 years and you go back into the Darwin and what was happening during that period with everybody saying, oh, you're crazy. No, evolution. What evolution? And they went out, they did everything. They wrote papers, scientific, peer-reviewed, and they all said, oh no, he's a liar. He's a liar. There's just nothing. There's nothing there. It's all God. It's all God. We can prove it. We can prove it. No one's ever evolved from anything.
So does your television company. So do MPs. You can't distinguish people because they've had people putting money.
If I can ask another question, you know, you refer...
You can't distinguish people because they've taken... What did he just say there? I mean, he's saying some stuff. He's oh, wait.
Distinguish people because they've had people putting money.
If I can ask another question, you know,
you can't distinguish people because they've had people put in money. Right. Can you understand what type of pasty line that is? I don't understand. Okay,
you can't distinguish people because...
You can't distinguish people because
they've had people putting money.
If I can ask another question.
Because they've had people put in money. You can't distinguish people because they've had people put in money, as the old expression goes. You can't, say it after me, you can't distinguish people because they've been given money or something like that. You can't distinguish. So you can't recognize or treat something as different. Yeah, you can't manage to discern something. You can't perceive something properly. Right, is what you're saying. Let's say it again.
You can't distinguish.
You can't recognize something as different.
People because they've had people.
You can't recognize somebody as different because they've had.
Ask another question.
Because they've had people put in money. You can't recognize somebody as different. You can't distinguish somebody because they put in money. Is that insane? Nearly every time there's some sort of criminality that includes funding, you can distinguish people because they put in money to a scheme or into a criminal enterprise. You can distinguish people. What he's saying is you can't target people who have committed crimes. You can't distinguish people who have done things wrong. You can't distinguish people who are blackmailed. You can't distinguish people who have fraudulently used methods that pump in money to an area that mean they pump in their information into your mind and you believe it is true. You can't distinguish those people. Don't do that. He is insane. The things he says are insane. If you break them down, it's insane. You can. If someone puts in money to buy someone or something or information or a narrative, you can distinguish them good. You can distinguish them. And what can you do? Recognize or treat someone as different. They are not a human. They are a pasty.
You know, you referred to that early research. Now, Joseph Freeman in Louisiana, him and his team reanalyzed that early data that you're talking about.
Oh.
And from it came information that you, Andrew, amongst others, have...
Pfizer was 1 in 990 severe adverse events, and Moderna was 1 in 662.
For every 800 doses of either Pfizer or Moderna that were administered, there was an adverse effect. And the adverse effects for the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines is more than all of the adverse effects that were reported in relation to all vaccines in the last 70 years.
Right, okay. So that's conclusive, isn't it? All of the adverse reactions add up to more than any other vaccine put together over the past 70 years. You've got to think that there's serious issues with that. What do you think David Lloyd's got to say? He's a good guy, isn't he?
Combined. So what I mean is I think that the story has moved on, and to keep quoting out-of-date data is not helpful.
Yeah. But now, okay. Look at this. Look what David Lloyd's looking at. He's looking at Neil Oliver's crotch. He's got an issue with looking at crotches. Go on, do an impression with one hand of what you would do to his winky woo.
Dispute that. I think that you're basing these things on small theories, just like QAnon has extraordinary theories about the prime ministers. You are...
What? Just like QAnon has theories about prime ministers. David Lloyd, can you please tell us what the QAnon theory about prime ministers are? And who are QAnon? Do you even know what you're saying? And since when? I mean, QAnon was a fad that lasted up until about Trump and January 6th and all after that, and then kind of like it dispersed into a fractured off because it was a lot of people got scared as well because of the January the 6th thing and people being arrested and stuff. But he's trying to say that these are like QAnon. He's trying to dress up. So he's done this from the beginning, conspiracy theory. So investigative journalism or research is conspiracy theory. That's what these guys always like to say when they're involved in a conspiracy. This guy now, he is going out of control. It's what... Let's hear that sentence again. I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And he's still trying to show what he would do to Neil Oliver's Willie. Look at that. He's looking at it, and I don't think he thinks much of Neil Oliver by the looks of things. Personally, I don't think so. Let's hear him do it again.
I think that you're basing these things on small theories, just like QAnon has extraordinary theories about the prime ministers. You are...
Just like QAnon has extraordinary theories about the prime ministers. You've made a claim there, Mr. David Lloyd. So I may actually write an email to David Lloyd and ask him to explain the line, just like QAnon has theories about all of the prime ministers or whatnot. It's a brilliant line. I don't know what it means because QAnon is an American thing and America has presidents anyway. And it seems to be that it was very focused on Epstein, political stuff, things like this, but mainly America. And I'm not sure if you've ever seen the Prime Minister of America, David Lloyd, but I think you are spreading disinformation here. And it's really projected out by the fact that you are provably erroneous in nearly everything you say. And I think you're also projecting out how small your willy is. I think you're saying my winky woo is this size.
Niche people with niche ideas and niche data. We should be going on the stuff that we really do care about.
Okay, so niche. Can you explain what the scientific community is? This elite scientific community that refuses to speak to the non-elite scientific community, refuses to acknowledge them. Who are the elite? How much? Are they the majority of the population? Would you say that they are the consensus? Would you say the consensus is opposite to a niche?
This is the work of eminent physicians.
No, it's not. It's crackpots that are saying these things.
Oh!
I've watched your block tube or whatever it is.
My God, I watched your block tube or whatever it is. I've seen the Tinterweb or whatnot. I read the words on the screeny ween and I decided that it was all conspiracy theory because it's not what my friend says. And my friends are the niche because the scientific community in the UK, in the world, is the niche. That's the niche. They're there. They're niche and they've got a noose too. For you.
You've got a whole pile of loony doctors out there spouting this stuff.
I really do think that is beneath you to suggest that your fellow physicians around the world who have spent months and years trying to...
No, it's not beneath him, is it? It's exactly what he's doing.
They're losing their reputations.
Like any profession, you are going to have loonies in your profession. You have loony news announcers.
He can't look, he has to close his eyes as he says this. This is like, you watch the body language of these people. He has to close his eyes and look away as he says this. He has to do that. He can't look into his eyes.
You have loony doctors, loony GPs, and you have loony scientists.
Look at his eyes.
In the minority,
look at his eyes.
I'm afraid they are the ones that are causing
not
this
looking anywhere,
debate, which is totally artificial.
Looking down, looking at cops.
It's demoralizing scientists.
Demoralizing scientists who want to inject shit into your baby. I tell you what, if I wanted to demoralize the people behind the Wellcome Leap stuff that the Wellcome Trust is doing, where they want to start experimenting on your babies from about 9 months old, even younger, and inject stuff in their brain. Yeah? You want that? Do you want that with your baby? Jeremy Farrar's behind that. Jeremy Farrar's the same person who wrote the proximal origin of SARS-CoV-2 and was responsible for the entire COVID response. The entire Fauci and Whitty in the BuzzFeed emails or whatever they're called, news emails, the leaks that came out, showed that Farrar was in charge. That Whitty and Fauci said this, all the response, all explaining the response, how to finance the response, how to do the response to SARS-CoV-2 is all over to you, Jeremy Farrar. Do you want those people to be the people who decide your stuff? Let's hear it again. Let's hear it again. I like hearing these things again.
Which is totally artificial. And it's actually underlying these. And you have loony scientists. But they are in the minority. And I'm afraid they are the ones that are causing this debate, which is totally artificial. And it's actually it's demoralizing scientists. And it's reducing this whole thing about what is fact and what is fiction.
This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. The man who is like, who is under this blanket of fiction is, of course, the one who's saying that you're making fiction, because that's the only weapon they have. The only tool they have is, you're lying, don't look at our stats, you're lying. And it works so well on all of the people who are only taking that side and only believe what they're told straight away.
We used to be we used to believe that you could sail off the edge of the earth. We used to believe that Brexit was a good thing.
But listen, fallacy, to point at something else that you can then change their mind on and base it around that. We used to think you could sail off the edge of the earth. Well, no, in actual fact, did Atlas carry the flat earth all the time, or did he carry the globe? In some places, they thought you could fall off the edge of the world, and in other places, they didn't. Now, the people who thought they were, you could sail off the edge of the world in some places, were actually in charge, in power, and put this in as an action to say you shouldn't go over there or you'll sail off the edge of the world and we don't want to lose all our fleet. So we're not going further than there. So we won't go any further. And our reality, what we've made as reality, is the reality that we will teach to our children and next generation until someone finally sails over there and discovers that we were lying about knowing. That we did not know. And then there's a load of other people who have sailed around the world. Loads of other people. A history of it. Loads of people who didn't believe that. So what he's saying is wrong. He's saying we used to all believe something. No, we didn't. The state forced, and religion forced, and organizations, institutions forced us to believe something that was maybe not true, maybe true. I can't tell because I can't get up into space and look out. I can't do all of those things. I'm pretty positive that if I walk up to the North Pole, I'll come out the other side and go around the other side of the Earth. I'm pretty positive of that. Pretty positive. Definitely not on that train. But still, not everybody was ever on that train. It's not like that. These people reduce it down to that because they want you to think it's either just about meat or pastry. That it's one or t'other. You have no other choices. It's all pasty.
I used to believe that there was no climate.
It would be if we actually delivered it.
A majority of...
Whoa! They used to believe there was no climate change. He said it. And yet, I mean, he used to think Brexit. All of that was his area, political. We used to think climate change wasn't real. Well, not in the way that you put it, for the, like your guys put it, for the methods that you put it in for and what you try and push in your agenda. No, you make things up all the time. You made loads of shit up about climate change. You made loads of shit up about the environment. You've made loads of shit up about medicine. You made loads of shit up about vaccines. You've made loads of shit up about medicine. All of your guys have made loads of shit up systematically for years, and everybody's fucking fed up of it. Everybody's fed up of eating pasty all the time and having no other choice apart from pasty.
People did think and do think that Brexit. Do you think
that is
Julie,
complete
if I can bring you in, you're another reasonable.
Well, that is complete nonsense. If you think Brexit was good, complete nonsense. So you see where this guy's gone, but he still can't look in anyone's eyes because he's a compulsive liar.
Person, you know, you're looking on at this, you're listening in on this debate. How do you?
All of these guys are looking at each other. Notice it.
These
all
very
of it.
divergent opinions.
Yeah. First of all, disclaimer: I'm vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated.
Okay, disclaimer. This lady is looking in everybody's eyes. This lady's looking at the presenters. This lady's looking at the people on the panel. Neil Oliver is looking at this lady. He's looking at David Lloyd. He's looking at Andrew Bridgen. Andrew Bridgen looks at Neil Oliver, looks at this lady, looks at David Lloyd. David Lloyd looks down at the ground, looks at people's crotches, averts eye contact, tries not to focus in on anything, has to speak into ether, into the space, into an area where no one is. Understand what that says about body language. Understand what that says about what someone is expressing and how much confidence they have in what they're saying and what they're actually saying. Because if someone is uncomfortable like that and their body language is uncomfortable, it's very unlikely that at this stage it's because they're scared about going on TV, because he's had a lot of experience with different things like that. No, this is something else. This is being dishonest. And this is what dishonesty looks like in someone's behavior, in someone's body language, in someone's how they express and how they interact with other people.
Because I believed at the time that was the right thing to do, and I don't regret it, but I do feel very, very sorry for people who are having adverse reactions. That's 100%. I agree with the doctor in that the wider picture seems to be that it has saved many, many lives around the world. But I agree.
The wider picture is based on their stats, which are nearly all lies. So when you say saved loads of people, well, for that, you have to believe that all of the people who died of just COVID. But they didn't. They were just putting, oh, he had COVID as well. So, and it's in the background noise at that point. We're going to class him as dead from COVID. That has meant the stats are bent, skewered out of proportion, and it was like that from the start. So this woman is basing all of her belief then on Pasty.
Also, with the fact that if we were told that it was tested on X amount of people and that batch that we were given was not, then I think anybody, vaccinated or not, pro-vaccine or not, has a right to query that and ask why. That's where I stand.
Yes, that's a good... I mean, this is the thing, right? Okay, I accept that some people want to believe it. They didn't know and that they go and get a vaccine. I'm not going to stop people deciding on what they do in life. But I'm going to scream, don't do it. These guys are all horrible, manipulative, crazy people who are trying to test on you, and look at this agenda. It's already here. But a lot of these people just don't listen anyway. So they go through it and they learn for themselves and they decide not to do it next time. She's in that arena, I think. She's learning her lessons and she's had to learn it a different way. And where she says, oh, I feel very sorry for the people who vaccine injured, it may just be a matter of time before you find out that there's something wrong with you that's a much longer term problem, because I think a lot of people are finding that out right now.
Doctor, if I can ask you again, in relation to that millions of lives saved.
Yes.
Now, that was a paper by a team led by Azra Ghani out of Imperial College London.
Here we go.
Now, the paper was sponsored by Gavi, which is the Bill and Melinda Gates.
Wait a minute. What's Imperial College where Roy Anderson and Neil Ferguson were based when they were doing the corrupt foot and mouth study that came before foot and mouth was meant to be happening in the UK and stuff? Isn't that? Oh, yeah, of course. That's what Roy Anderson is, isn't that where Roy Anderson is? Imperial College, yes, because there in Imperial College is one of the places where the fix-up, the fixers work. That's where the medical fixers are. You know, a lot of this, when you study these people, that's what you find. That's where all the pasties are located.
Foundation by any other name, by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and by the World Health Organization. And Dr. Azra Ghani, let's remember, was pro-fear, pro-vaccine and pro-lockdown throughout. So I would say questionable whether that would be an
Look at that. He's having to express with his eyebrows, but he has to look away still. His neck is retreated into his body. He is pulling away. His body language is all, I don't want to be here. I don't want to have to be the one, and I have to keep lying.
I think there's a reasonable scientific basis to believe.
And yet you continue to say, and that's not allowing, that's before we even consider the fact that it didn't take into account the waning toxicity of the virus. It didn't take into account the way in which different age groups are affected. It didn't take into account all manner of variables. And yet you're still saying millions of lives saved, and that's the only source for that claim.
Why, after I spoke out, if it's all...
Yeah, it's the only source for that claim. And that's the only time that David Lloyd has turned around and looked at Andrew Bridgen. And I bet you it only lasts for a brief period where he's going to look at him quickly and look away straight away, no doubt. But the claim was only made in one place, and she's made that claim again, and it's because it was made in one place, it gets repeated over and over again. But then when you say, oh, where does that claim come from, no one knows.
Safe and effective.
If I could just let the doctor respond.
Well, I love the fact that you're trying to undermine science in general, but I object.
I love the fact that you're trying to undermine the science in general. The science, which is wrong, is provably wrong, was provably false. He's explaining something that is false. And he's like, oh, I'm really glad that you're trying to do this. Even though these people helped ban anybody saying anything during this time because they weren't glad. So he's constantly lying.
I object on every level to these.
But just objecting is not enough. We need science.
Yeah, I know. Oh, object. I object. I object to you being against the science. Okay, show us why you object. I'm not going to look at you.
The government stop the rollout. Why did the government stop the rollout of the vaccines to the under fives when I spoke out in Parliament last December when it was rolled out across if there was no risk?
I'm afraid.
Why did when they were asked to authorise them? Why didn't they in the end?
As I say, I'm going to come back to my basic premise. I'm a GP. I work on the ground. The people that I saw with COVID who died were unvaccinated.
Oh, he's good. This is the. They say this. The people I saw on the ground who died were unvaccinated. The people I saw on the ground who died were unvaccinated, and I've talked to a doctor in my area who said roughly the same thing, but she was talking about how they read. I questioned it, and she's big up on the wards, the Heath Hospital, the University Hospital in Cardiff. And she said, "Oh yeah, nearly all of the people on the wards are people who weren't vaccinated." I said, "Oh, where do you get those stats from?" "Oh, they're given to us every morning. We're given stats, and as soon as you get given stats like that, that's the point when they can be manipulated and changed, and they can be using modeling and using other things and have loads of little side notes that they don't have to tell people within work. They have to tell you if they tell the public, but not within a private organization. And there's different rules attached, and people go by different methods. So you can no longer trust that. You'd have to go in and actually find out. And when you actually find out the stats, the true stats, you start to see that this isn't the picture at all. Is not the picture at all.
And the people who didn't die were the ones who were vaccinated. And that is the same if you talk to every reasonable doctor around the world. They have seen the effect of vaccines.
So he says reasonable. You have to talk to any reasonable doctor. So that gives license for him to say, oh, he disagreed with me. He's not a reasonable doctor. So what makes you reasonable? Reasonable is not how good you are as a doctor, but how much you agree with Dr. David Lloyd.
And that there is no doubt about. And the fact that you're bringing up this stuff is undermining the whole scientific principle. What's going to happen?
Undermining the fact you're bringing up evidence and instances undermines the scientific. Like what? Like scientific method is about undermining scientific method. You find the scientific method that's prevailing, you test it out. If it's undermined, it's not true, and the ideas and the principles alter for the next generation of scientists who come along and then test out those principles, and slowly, throughout time, we had better science. We had more pasties and less hate.
Next pandemic,
well, that's a
when there is that, when these counts are there, if another company brings along another vaccine, are you all going to say sorry? We won't do that.
How you react to the fact that when the Pfizer spokesperson, in answering a question, made plain that Pfizer had never even been asked to test whether their product would stop transmission, and yet the entire get an injection to save your community was predicated upon a non-existent fact. It had never.
He's not. There's no answer. He's not going to be able to give answer. All he's going to do is look at your crotch, examine the lump, and consider how to form his eyebrows into a mini house. He has to have a little roof over his eyes. Watch as the roof forms over his eyes.
We're being tested for stopping transmissibility.
There it is.
How did you react to that?
Well, that was
He's like a little Scandinavian house.
Protect individuals, and that we know it does. It not only protects you from dying, but it prevents you from getting serious disease.
That's a lie again. It's all based on shit. It's all based on feces. It's all based on diarrhea of modeling and other stuff that's made by the people who are in the fix, who do their fixing at the top level, and it trickles down, and the rest of the masses believe what all these people tell them, but these people are telling them things that are based on lies, but they know by this time it's lies. Look at him. Look at him. Do you really trust him?
And hospitalization. Are you doubting that?
I absolutely question that. I question the safety and efficacy of those products.
The fact that the Pfizer vaccine works.
Yes, look, he's kind of like, what? Wait a minute. We've been speaking here the whole time, and you've been obviously doubtful, but you're actually doubting that the Pfizer vaccine works. You think the Pfizer vaccine doesn't? What? Why would you think that? It's like he's not even questioned it. If you had a product that is out there and you are administering that product, you are not a representative. You do not own shares in that product. You are not part of the company. You are administering that product for someone else on behalf of this company, and you would know all of the positives and the negatives, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you know both the pastry and the innards? Wouldn't you know the context of what you're giving to someone and what it could do to them, both positive and negative? He's fluffing pillows. He is Mr. Fluffy. He is everything's good about the Pfizer vaccine. It makes me think that he's got links to Pfizer, and I'll be happy to investigate such things.
Well, if you're asking me, I think those products did nothing or they caused harm, but that's purely my opinion.
But
Sorry,
that's nonsense.
I'm going to go. It's not. It's a matter of scientific challenge.
Have you been?
We have to go to a break.
Unfortunately, yes.
So Andrew Bridgen has been vaccinated.
I haven't.
Right, well, there you go.
I am untouched by the needle and my whole family.
I am untouched by the needle in my own family. Good, good. Neil Oliver, you made some good decisions in life and you made some bad decisions in life, I'm sure, like all humans. And you admit, and like Bridgen said, I'm vaccinated and he's against it now. So he's made some bad decisions. He's made some good decisions. You have a lady. She's like, I've made some bad decisions. I've made good decisions. Dr. David Lloyd, I am right. Pasties are forever. Pasties are forever, forever.
Shaping a great reset for the post-corona era.